We are going to review the quiz that you just took. And I'm going to have you, after we do each type of problem, flip your quiz over and on the back do a different problem and return everything in. So the first problem on your quiz, feel free to fast forward if you need or rewind or whatever works for you, is to solve by graphing. And the equation was 3x plus y equals 5. And the other equation is x minus 4y equals 32. When you're solving by graphing, your whole goal is to solve for y, put it in y equals mx plus b, generate a table, and make a graph. So the first step would be to subtract 3x. We're going to do one equation at a time. So y equals negative 3x plus 5. This is already in y equals form, so we're done. So now, generate a table for that. Oh my. Alrighty, so the easiest number to plug in is 0. When you plug in 0, this number right here is always your answer. So 0 gives 5. This is your slope. So as x goes up by 1, y goes down by 3. So 1 is going to give you 2, and 2 will give you negative 1. So you have a graph. I'm going to sketch one over here, and when you do your own problem, you're just going to sketch one on the back. So 0 gives 5. 1 gives 2. And 2 gives negative 1. This makes good sense that it's going down because your slope is negative. Now, this is the second equation over here. The first one's done. So this y needs to get to be alone. So the first thing, you're going to subtract x. Negative 4y equals negative x plus 32. I'm trying to get this into y equals mx plus b. That's why I'm writing the x first and the number second. You also need to make sure you don't lose that negative. Every time you have a minus, you may want to make it plus a negative. That negative needs to be there. To get the y alone now, you should divide by negative 4. What you do to one term, you do to every single term. So you have y equals this x alone, you could put a 1 in front of. A negative 1 over a negative 4 is a positive 1/4 x plus negative 8. You could write that as 0.25x plus negative 8 if that helps you. This 1/4 to me means that in your table, 0 gives negative 8. And then as you go over 4, you go up 1. That's your rise over your run. So if you go to the number 4 in your x, that's your run, then you go up 1. So 4 would give you negative 7. Now, zero gives negative 8. Oh my. And 4 gives negative 7. I don't know how that line just drew, but this is what your line should look like. I'll try to erase that thing, but I think there's probably going to be an issue. Yeah, it's not going to erase. Okay, so this line should not be here. So, okay, this right here is your solution. It appears that it is 4, oh man, negative 7. So if we come back over to the first equation, if the table is continued, 4 should give negative 7. Remember, this one went down by 3. So negative 1 will give negative 4, because that's 3 less. And then 4 will give negative 7, because that's also 3 less. So the solution to this first problem, I'll rewrite it hopefully prettier, is 4, negative 7. That's number 1. Now we're going to go to number 2. Number 2 read y equals x plus 4 and x minus y equals 1. So this first one is already in y equals mx plus b. You can make a table. 0 gives 4. That's your b. That's your 0. And then your slope is 1, which means 1 will give you 1 more, which is 5. 2 will give you 1 more, which is 6. Graph that. 0 gives 4. 1 gives 5. And 2 gives 6. The second one, you need to isolate the y. That minus, you may want to make plus and negative so you don't lose it. So to get the y alone, you subtract x. Negative y equals negative x plus 1. You need to solve for positive y. So positive y will equal positive x minus 1. And you can just change everything, or you can multiply by a negative. So you're going to generate your table for this. 0 give negative 1. 1 is going to give, this is a slope of 1 again, 0. And 2 will give 1. So you'll notice that when you plot these points, they give you a parallel line. So parallel lines will never cross. So, wow, the answer here is no solution, because they will never cross. The solution is where they cross, just like you saw in the last one. So what I want you to do right now is flip your paper over, and for your graphing problem, I would like you to do 2x minus y equals 5 and negative 3x plus y equals negative 7. Can you even read that? Let me maybe rewrite that. That should be a negative 7. Okay. Pause this. When you're done graphing this, flip it back over for substitution. Substitution. The first problem in substitution on your quiz was y equals negative 2x. The second problem was 7x minus 8y equals negative 23. When you're substituting, one of the letters is solved for. That's right here. This is the same exact letter. And in here it says y equals 2x. So we're going to rewrite 7x minus 8. Instead of a y, we're going to substitute, which means completely replace, with a negative 2x. And that's going to equal negative 23. Now, you could slash and dash this, might be a good idea. Negative 8 with a parentheses next to a negative 2x means multiply. So we have 7x plus 16x equals negative 23. So 16 and 7 is 23. So now we have 23x equals negative 23. These are on the same side of the equation, so you just put them together. You don't do anything opposite or move it. To isolate the x, divide by 23. And you get x equals negative 1. So that's the x portion of our ordered pair that we need to solve for. You need to plug that into one of the originals, whichever one looks easier. To me, the first one looks easier. So I'm going to plug negative 1 in for x. Y equals negative 2 times negative 1. So y will equal positive 2. So positive 2 is your solution. You could take that, plug negative 1 in for x, 2 in for y, and make sure it works. 7 times negative 1 plus negative 8 times 2 equals negative 23. So that's negative 7 plus negative 16. And yes, it does equal negative 23. So we're 100% positive this problem is right. The second substitution problem that you had was 3x plus y equals 13, and 5x minus 2y equals 18. I already did the first step for you on the quiz, which was to isolate the y. And you do that by subtracting the 3x. So the first step was negative 3x plus 13. Now, here's your y. Here's your y. Here's your substitutor. That goes right in there. So rewrite the bottom equation. 5x minus 2. And then instead of a y, you're substituting negative 3x plus 13 equals 18. Anytime you have a minus, you should slash and dash so you don't lose your negative. This negative 2 needs to be distributed to get rid of the parentheses. If you remember order of operations, parentheses comes first. So rewrite the whole problem. 5x plus negative 2 times negative 3x is a positive 6x. And negative 2 times 13 is a negative 26. These x's are on the same side of the equation, so you put them together just like they read. 11x plus negative 26 equals 18. You need the numbers together on the right. The letters have taken over the left. To move the 26, you add it. So 11x equals 1444. You need to isolate the 11, or the x, so divide both sides by 11. So x equals 4. That's the x value of this solution. Now, you're going to plug that into either of the two original equations. I personally think the 3x plus y equals 13 is a bit easier. So 4 goes in for x. 3 times 4 plus y equals 13. That's 12 plus y equals 13. Isolate the y by subtracting 12, so y equals 1. This is your ordered pair solution for the second one. You can plug it in and check. It works. So you're going to flip your paper over to the back, and right now you're going to solve by substitution, and the problem is y equals 5x minus 8. And the second problem is y equals 3x plus 12. Go ahead and pause until you're done. Finally, we're going to do elimination. The first problem on your homework for elimination I rewrote for you. It's 3x plus negative 6y, it actually says minus, I just made that plus a negative, equals 3. And 3x minus 6y equals 3. Alright, I'm going to make the second one plus a negative 2. You can eliminate either letter because both letters have the same coefficient through subtracting. In fact, when you subtract, you end up with 0 because both of the letters cancel, equals 0. 0 will always equal 0. So this is all solutions. These equations are the same exact equation, so they would lay on top of each other. All of the solutions for the one would be the same as all of the solutions for the other. If by chance you got like 0 equals 6, then it would be no solutions. That would mean you have two parallel lines with a different y-intercept. This is not what you got. You got something that does work, so it's all solutions. The last problem on your quiz. 6x minus y equals negative 23, and I already on your paper multiplied that by 3, so I'm just going to rewrite that. 18x minus 3y equals negative 69. And then the second equation was 8x plus 3y equals negative 9. Now, this time the coefficients of the y's are the same. So the number in front of the y are both 3. One of them is positive and one of them is negative. So to eliminate the y, you need to add. Negative 3 and positive 3 is nothing, so this is what eliminates. So now you need to do the rest. 18x plus 8x is 26x, and negative 69 and negative 9, remember you're adding, is negative 72. So you need to isolate the x by dividing by 26. So x equals negative 3. And now you need to plug that into one of the original problems. I would say the second one's easier because there's less negatives. But it doesn't matter. You'll get the exact same answer because this is your solution. This is where these two lines cross. This is the one point that these two lines both share in common that works. Okay, you can plug it into the other one if you want and see if you get the same answer. So 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. We need all the letters on the left, all the numbers on the right. So you should add 24. So 3y equals negative 9 plus 24 is positive 15. And then you need to isolate the y by dividing by 3. So y equals 5. So the ordered pair solution for the last problem is negative 3, 5. And if you want to plug that in and see if it works, that would be a marvelous idea. So your problem that you are now going to do for elimination is 3y plus 2x equals 9, and negative 3y plus 2x equals 3. After you have that done on the back of your paper, you're going to turn it in and work on the worksheet that is homework. Have a lovely evening.